Hello, internet friends. This is what I feel like I feel like I hear phrases or something, and then there's like, that's how I hear from God, and then He'll just give me a way to like look at it and go deeper into it. And I feel like the phrase today is, it takes time for seasons to take shape. It takes time for a season to take shape. Like there has to be a build up before there's a climax. I'm watching Smallville, right? The origin story of Superman. And this was in the early 2000s, whenever it was normal for seasons to have like 22 episodes instead of like today where it's like 10 episodes. And in 10 episodes, you have to like kind of put a lot in there. There's like more drama or whatever. But with 22 episodes, it can feel like a lot of filler stuff. Right? There's a lot of like, I don't know how these pieces are coming together. It's like a slower buildup. There's a lot of things that seem to be unrelated, but they come together at the end. And I think this is what God is showing me with this, which is it takes time for seasons to take shape. Meaning you're not going to know the season that you were in right away. It will take being in that season for a certain amount of time. Like if you're not used to waiting on God, if you're not used to being in a dry season, you're not going to know what that is when you first encounter it, right? You're going to push it away. You're going to resist it. That's probably what's going to be most natural to you. I believe that what we're going to do as human beings is what's natural to us. So when you are in darkness, you're going to do what's natural to one who is in darkness. But whenever there is a new variable that enters into the equation, that of light, then what's natural to you is going to change. And eventually that change is going to take on a certain shape. So God will meet you in a place, begin to speak to you in a new way that then brings about a certain change. But the change you're not able to really see right away, right? You don't know what you are encountering. You don't know what is going on. I think this is where He will say, you don't know what I'm doing, but one day you will. One day you will know what I was doing, but you don't know. You don't know until you really have perspective looking back of just the shape that was in. Like if I were to look at the shape of 2024, it felt like there was a buildup and then a disappointment. It felt like things were coming together and then they fell apart. Like 2023, like 2022, like the reoccurring historical years of my life, right? And 2025, I don't know. It's just beginning, right? I'm looking at it and observing it from this place because God's like, just wait till it takes shape, right? Because you don't always know. Because you can begin a new season. And the beginning of a new season is actually the end of the previous season. So what you have at the beginning of a new season is a bunch of ashes from a previous season. So it doesn't look like anything is going on. It doesn't look like anything is new. It takes time for the season that you are in, a new season. If God is bringing you into a new season, for you to see the shape of that thing, it takes time for it to take shape, right? Because we can be like, oh, everything fell apart. Like this is the end, but the end is really just the beginning of something new. The end is the beginning of something new. And back to the whole Smallville thing with the 22 episodes or whatever. It builds up to the last episode. Everything falls apart usually. Superman comes in, saves the day. And then the next episode in the next season, meaning season 1 of the next episode from the series finale or season finale or whatever, it's like the continuation. I think they used to do it that way. It was like to be continued at the end of the season, and then you enter into the new season, and then they wrap up what previously happened in the last season, right? They connect all the dots. They bring about closure before they begin a new season. So really the beginning of a new season is like on episode 2 where it begins to take on a new shape, and you don't know what that shape is, right? Because a lot of new things are coming in, new characters, new storylines, new all these different things, right? And you're just observing it. You're just like, well, this is new. I don't know really what to make of this. I know what I'm coming from. I have the ashes of a previous season. There are new things coming in, but I don't recognize these new things because they are new. And by nature of being new, you don't recognize what they are. You may not even be aware of them. And I've had it in my life, and maybe you have too, where there was season of darkness where I didn't know I was in darkness, right? This was the before I met God place. And then there was the seasons of darkness, and then I would say this is the current seasons, like if you were to put a bunch of seasons together or a bunch of years together, these are the years of now being aware, being awakened to how dark it actually has been. So before I didn't know how dark it was. And I was operating as one who didn't know how dark it was. And then he brings me into this awareness of how dark it has been, which seems to be the beginning of a new season. And that is taking its own shape. It's kind of wild, it's just in my head or whatever. But it's just like you have these times of your life, right? These markers in time. And the beginning of a new season is the end of a previous season. And it seems to just go like that, like the circle of life or whatever. And you don't really know until you are really in something for you to be able to say, okay, this is starting to take on a certain shape. Am I aware of the shape that it's taking? Not really. I think it's going to take time for me to look back and say, oh, that's what that was. That's what that was. But that was at the perfect time. Things started to come together at the end. Usually there's a build up, like there has to be a build up before there's a climax, right? Hello. And the like when you were entered into a waiting season, when you were waiting on God, right? You get into this place of longing, this place of anticipation. You have to endure through the suffering that then makes longing more rich to you, right? It's all to prepare you. It's all building up to a certain climax. I believe that it is. Otherwise, it's kind of cruel. You're getting more and more hungry as the season goes on. But things are coming together for you to one day, finally, at the end of this season, eat. Be able to experience the fruit of the labor of the previous season. Right? The seeds were planted, and now what has been sown is now reaped. And it comes together in that way. And so we don't always know, and I don't think that we're going to know, the seasons that we were in until we were kind of like in the middle of them, right? So you're kind of just having to observe things, right? Especially with God, because it is the variable of light. The variable of light comes in and changes everything. You think everything's like this, and then the variable light comes in, it does like this. Basically, just completely shifts everything. You're just like, I couldn't have seen it that way. You basically scratched a place in my brain that I didn't know existed. But now that I know that it exists, it now puts into question everything that I knew before. So everything is flipped on its head. If darkness was if you were so used to darkness, and then that season ends with light coming in and showing you, oh no, this is actually not true concerning you. Oh no, this is actually who I am, that you could have never known until I brought you to a place for me to reveal myself to you. It's like, and now that's beginning to take shape. And you are becoming who he knows who you are already. Probably an easier way to say that. It can feel very, very exhausting when you're in a season that is dry, right? A season that is dry. And it's weird at first because you're not used to that season being so dry. You're not used to things not working the way that they have. You're not used to feeling that way. And so you're going to reject it at first. That's the beginning of a new season. You're going to reject it. You're going to resist it. You're going to think that something's wrong. But then you will be broken down. You will surrender into that new season. He will have you be still to know that he is God. Know that he is the God of this season. He will provide everything within that season. but it just won't be the things that were in the previous season. This is where I think people become interchangeable, where community can be good for one season, but isolation is better for another season because of the purpose that he wants to accomplish. And he was telling me yesterday or whatever, he's like, I always get what I want. I always get what I want. And now I'm getting from that is like, he has an intention to your life and to every season, and every season will produce what he has intended for it to produce, for you to become who he's always seen you to be, right? The fascinating thing about watching Smallville with the origin of Superman is I'm seeing who he's becoming, right? Before he becomes, before he actually is. And the vantage point is, I know Superman, right? And so I'm watching the coming of age part. So it's like God is like, he knows you, but you are observing yourself in the coming of age part. You are observing yourself being molded and shaped into a certain way. And so the seasons will come and then they will shape you, right? And each season will have just the amount of whatever to accomplish his purpose. So it's like it's already done. That's what I'm getting. It's already done. But us, as observers, as ones that are actually walking this thing out, that don't have the vantage point of being able to see so far ahead, like we can only really be right here today. And you can have all of these days that don't seem like they're adding up to anything, right? Just all of this like, what is this? Where would we even put this? But it'll come together at the end. At a certain point, you will see oh, this came together. I couldn't have seen that before because you were actually pulling things from like far, far away and bringing them closer. So like a certain way I see it in my head. But he's like, I always get what I want. I always get what I want. So what I want for you, you will have. Those that are surrendered to God, whatever he wants, he gets. And so he will be like, okay, you're saying yes to being taken into this season of preparation. Now that I have your yes, you're locked in, basically, right? All the ways that you're going to try to resist this and not think that you're going the right way, that's part of the preparation. All the ways that you think that you're supposed to know what this looks like before you were actually like in the middle of it, that's part of the preparation. You're going to go through all of the things with me. But at the end of it, I get what I want for you. So I will turn everything for your good. I'm ready to see it, man, because I've seen so many things come at me, right? So many cliffhangers and so many end of the season things where it's just like, oh, it's over. There's no next season for you. There's no next season for you. And then somehow I'm still here. And God is still saying, I get what I want. So what I want to happen for you is going to happen for you because you said yes to me. And that's really what it is. You just say yes to him. And then the preparation begins. Then the seasons that you were in, that you were confused about, you were meant to be confused about. Because it's not going to be until you were in the middle of something that you begin to have some kind of perspective of the shape of that season, right? Or looking back, you'll have more of a perspective of the shape of that season. But when you were in the middle of it, it's hard to detect that. That's why give yourself grace, give yourself the permission to not be able to see or understand, because this is what it is to walk with God. The permission to not be able to see or understand. The beginning of a season could very well look for you like it has looked for me as the ashes of a previous season. It seems like all of the failed attempts or something, all of the wasted time. Oh, well, that's just the ashes of the previous season. Did it yield anything? I don't know. We're in a new season now. Are we? I'll let you know maybe mid-2025 or something. But it's like you have these things that just happen, and it's like a bunch of random things, it seems like. Especially in a 22 episode season or whatever, like they did in the early 2000s. It's like you have a bunch of like things. But then they always end up coming together, right? And that'll be your days with God. You'll have a bunch of random things that go on. And you as a person are not going to understand every little thing that's going on. You're just having to walk, continue walking, continue walking. Take another step. His faithfulness comes in, gives you another day, another step, another step. Eventually, though, you're able to look back and say, oh, I can kind of see the shape of what that was back there. But it takes time. It takes time to know the shape of the season that you were in, or the season that you were previously in. It takes time to gain perspective, I would say. So give yourself grace. If this was going to be like something to end on or whatever, it would be give yourself the permission to not be able to see or understand the place that you were in, because it will take a certain amount of time for you to recognize the shape of whatever that is or was or whatever. You're just not going to know. That's what it is to be human walking with God. You're not going to know, but you will know when it is time to know. Because I think he's delighted to show you how much he's always had you. But he will get what he wants concerning you. So whatever he has said, this is what it will be yours. I believe that it will. It will just seem like it'll be the craziest season ever, but he'll make it all come together at the end and be like, there you go. Like, I hate you, I love you. See you next time. God, jeez.